really want to thank the Lord, he says at the close there. That song comes from my misspent youth. We all have one. Some of us spent it more wisely than others. And you get to this point where we have this celebration called Thanksgiving, and you look back, and you stop and think, why? What are we looking back at? I usually come to this time of the year in the last few years with some sort of sense of dread, actually. I have to stop and focus on what it is I want to be thankful for. So many other things crowd out my sense of thankfulness by the time I get here. And then I listen to things like this, or I come into the public displays of Thanksgiving, and we always have the vegetables, and we talk about the food, the fruits, the vegetables, the fall colors. But, you know, I haven't planted a vegetable in nigh unto 20 years. You know, I do my shopping at Price Chopper, or they call it now Freshco, or No Frills, or Metro, or one of those places, and that's the closest I get to a farm. Except for the ones I'm speeding by on my motorcycle, which I don't stop to stop at. Or I see those signs that say, if you ate today, thank a farmer, or farmers feed cities. You know what I mean? I haven't been down on the farm in a very long time. I come from fishing stock, and I haven't been in a fishing boat for 20 years either, except to go for a joyride. So what am I thankful for? Well, I think it's about time we stop and look at that. We are thankful, and we are thankful for the food, but it's not just for the food. Because if I want to be thankful for my food, I have to thank more than the farmer. I do have to thank the grocery clerk that stocks the shelves. I have to stop and think about the truck driver that took it there. The person in the processing plant that processed it. And those people that work in those factories that take the sugar out of everything so that most of us can eat it now. And I have to thank the guy that invented saccharin. It all sounds strange, but it's true, right? There's a lot to be thankful for, and it's not just nature, but nature supports it all. None of it works without God's creation, but we're all part of God's creation. And so is the stuff that keeps us going. I need to thank the pharmaceutical companies that make the drugs, that keep the vitamins in ourselves, and all the things that keep us going. And all of a sudden you start to realize there's a few more things to be thankful for than we actually just focused on in the first place. I need to be thankful for the people that made the memories that aren't pleasant, because they gave me something to survive. They gave me something to get over. And then I start to realize that really does all come back to one being. One stated being. It's got a name so big, we just called him Dog backwards. I'm not joking when I say it. He's got a name so big, we can't describe him. He's got a name so big that he sent messenger after messenger after messenger to us, including one we call his son. He's got a name so big that while I'm calling him he, we all know him as she, or creator, or lover, or divine one. He's got a name so big, he's a part of every one of us. He's got a name so big, he connects us. And when you start to look for the name so big in the little things, you start to discover what it is we're thankful for. And we're thankful for the person who was a kind clerk in a store. And we're thankful for the person who planted the seed. And the guy who put his foot to the pedal of the truck to drive it to us. And then we're thankful for the people that got up this morning on a gorgeous day when they could be in 1,000 different places on the planet. And they showed up here to sit in these pews to say thank you and to do it together. And you give thanks for the people who have touched your life and shaped it and made it. I'm thankful for the people sitting in front of me, literally for you. People here who I've known for just a couple of years, for a few months, and Joan, my mother-in-law, Karen's mom, sitting in the side over there, who's put up with me for, at least 2 years, right? My writing friends, Don and Charlene, who have taught me the sanity of insanity and what true friendship really is. The people of this congregation who have given me love and support, as I hope I give it back to you. What are we thankful for? All good things around us are sent from heaven above, as Victor Gaber sang in that song from Godspell in the 1960s. All good things around us are sent from heaven above. The love of a daughter that would get on a bus and drive how many hours? 7 hours straight to get home to visit with her parents. The love of the parents that let her go away that far. All good things around us are sent from heaven above. We live in a world where it's easy to lose sight. Eyesight fades, hearing goes, knees crumble, health crumbles. Hearts decide they want to be wonky. And we start to focus on that stuff. Don't you know how easy it is to focus on the negative? On the thing that hurt us? The thing that tore us down? And yeah, we crumble there. We all stumble there. But God gave us these connections, this ability to be thankful. It's at the core of our being. And when we reach into it and look at it, we do one simple thing. We stop looking down and we look up. We stop looking solely inward and we look out. And we do it as individuals and we do it together as people. Congregation like this, that I know your history, I know your story. You have one of the storied histories of any congregation in Canada. One of the oldest. Over the years, you've done some amazingly significant things, but you went through some pretty rough times as a corporate family. And you could have looked in and focused and gone angry and gone negative. Instead, you came to life. And then you looked out. And I can think of at least 4 communities in far distant parts of this planet, who have been blessed by your presence. Because you looked out. You looked up. And you gave thanks to God by helping out. Street kids in Kingston, seniors and shut-ins here in this neighborhood, young families, older individuals, those of us that live on our own. Whatever it is, this congregation has touched those lives. That's to be thankful for. I didn't know what I was going to say this morning until late last night. And all I was thinking of when I was going to sleep was those baskets hanging by the pews. They're gifts to you, by the way. And you can have the apples and stuff that are in them. The couple that gave them to you would like to have the baskets back at some point, so they could probably fill them again and do the same thing with. But yesterday I did a renewal of a wedding, 10 years, for a couple that I had married 10 years ago at the beginning of my troubled decade. And they sought me out earlier this summer and asked if I would do a renewal of their wedding. And they chose to do it. Their anniversary party was at the hall next door, so they chose to have their thing here. And they were just thrilled that I could have access to this building. They didn't seem to get it that I actually worked here. But they did finally. But they did their whole thing based on the theme of an apple and decided they wanted to give these to the congregation. But in the process of doing that, I had to think back over the 10 years and how that couple had woven their lives in and out of mine over 10 years without me being really aware of it. And I became of how those threads work in our life. The threads of people we've met in the past that come back to bless us in the present. The hope that you have for the future because of it. Listening to them talk about the trouble they had, and they had not had an easy 10 years, but had lost sight of each other through that time. And the concept of that made me start to realize, what is it that I had been losing sight of? And I'd lost sight of the threads. Of all the things from, it's not about planting farm crops. Thanksgiving really isn't about planting farm crops. You know, we do it this time of the year because 150, 200 years ago, when this place was called Sand Hill, and the first settlers with Michael Grass and his friends outside were out here scratching in the dirt to make a living, they weren't trying to earn an income, they were trying to survive. And the meager harvest that they would bring in simply represented survival. And the first Thanksgivings were simply about, I survived, and I have the means to survive further. We're survivors, folks. We're survivors who choose to thrive on our survival. We're people who are willing to give thanks to God for all the good gifts around us, to share the fruits of both our labor